Hi, everybody, and welcome to our weekly activity series. Today, I have Meghann on, and she has really cool activities. And I talked to you guys earlier about the importance of learning life skills, especially today when we're having to learn life skills that we might have used to know but don't know anymore because we pay people to do them. And now they're not working. So we are relearning what we used to know. And so teaching our kids these life skills when they're little is so important. And Meghann has come on to teach us a little bit about sewing, and that our preschoolers can actually learn some sewing skills even though they're little. So, Meghann, do you want to tell them what your website is and show us some activities?
Okay, yes, I would love to tell you guys. And I love that you said that it's so important to learn these life skills because I definitely believe that. And I feel like a lot of what I do on my website, Rooted Childhood, is kind of going back in time to what our grandmothers or our great grandmothers would have learned and done. And it really is kind of a lost art that we've just grown away from these kinds of things. But in this day and age, especially when we have a lot of kids who are having trouble like sitting still or focusing, learning some kind of handicraft like sewing is so great for the brain and the hand and the eye connection. So it really has a lot of uses, and I'm so excited to share with you guys today.
We're excited. And what do you these are for kids like 2 and up or 3 and up, or how old would you start?
Yeah, so really, even from when I had babies, I start thinking about building up those fine motor skills. So, our babies are learning so much when they're really little. Right. And by the time they're toddling around, between 1 and 2, they are doing things like playing with Play-Doh maybe. And those are all really great things, or sensory activities. Those are great to be building those muscles that they're going to be using eventually for writing. But this kind of skill like sewing can even happen before they're at that age. So I think that like 3 to 5 is a really great age to introduce, sewing skills to them.
Perfect. So even if you have your little 3-year-olds, and if you're a preschool teacher, you can do this in class too. So I want to see. Show us.
Okay, so I do have a 3-year-old right now, and my 3-year-old is just at the beginning stages of learning her sewing skills. So what we have done, she's about 3.5 now. So right around when she's turned 3, we started working on some activities that are going to be building that hand-eye coordination. Because if you think about sewing, taking a needle in and out, if you think about it, like there's a lot going on there to get that to happen. So we're going to
planning involved in that.
Yeah, so we're going to start with something simple like stringing beads on a string. Okay. And they're doing that with one hand, they're holding the string, one hand they're stringing it on. And you want to use a bead that has a big enough hole for them to string. You can even start more basic than that with like a pipe cleaner and plastic pony beads. That is a great way because then the pipe cleaner is sturdy and stays sturdy for them. And then you can move on to something like this. And we have used beads like this for decorations. Here's another little spring one that we've made. 3-year-old, all the beads on this one. And then I have a 5-year-old and an 8-year-old, and they did the little yarn tassels. But that is a great activity just to get them to start making that connection. Once they've done that, then something like lacing cards is a great idea. And you might have some lacing cards that you've gotten from a store. These are a popular, good educational toy. They come with a string usually. And this is sewing. So they're going in and out and sewing on these. And that really gets them ready for the motion of sewing with a needle.
Right.
You don't have lacing cards. They're so easy to make. And I actually have a template for some that I'll share with you guys. These are just some little bird.
Dude, are those
cards. And these are really great. And I just printed these out on cardstock, laminated them, and then hole punched around it. And my 3-year-old would sit here all day and do lacing cards.
Yes. Yeah. And so do you have to buy a needle?
Okay. So yes, for these, if you don't have a string, that comes with lacing cards or some kind of like shoestring, because it has like the end of it kind of firmed up.
Yeah.
Easier. But you could use yarn, and I use just a plastic tapestry needle. It usually comes with like plastic canvas kits. These are really easy to find. And this is actually like a really big one. This is probably more of a normal size, but I think for the younger the child, the bigger the needle is, the easier it is for them to grasp.
Right, their grasping skills are still developing.
And then I would use just
I see people come on, so if you have questions, you can ask away. There's about 7 people on watching, so ask us questions. I posted something the other day on our page about the development of the hand, actually, and how between the ages of birth all the way till they turn 7, their hands aren't fully developed. So having their grasp, so the bigger needles, helps with that grasp for those little young ones who can't really do that smaller stuff.
Yes, absolutely.
And I'm behind why they can't hold really small things yet.
Yes. And I think making sure that we're adjusting whatever we're doing for where our child is at is really important, because not all 3-year-olds are going to be able to do the same thing. Not all 5-year-olds are going to be able to do the same thing. And I have 3 kids, and I noticed that right away. They're all so different.
They're all different.
Yeah. So I think these lacing cards are really good. Some of them have more dots on them than others. Like you can see, this has a lot of dots on it here. So that might be more frustrating for a younger child, where you might give them one with just 5 or 6 dots so that they can feel really accomplished when they get that pulled through.
And are those in the link that you're going to send to us?
Yes, I will send the template to print and cut those and make those yourself. And I made those this afternoon.
Those for free for us. She's so nice. So we can actually go on and print them out, and then maybe post pictures of our kids using them. That would be so neat.
Yes, I would love that.
That would be so fun.
Okay, so once my kids are doing lacing cards really good, then I move on to, we have this sewing board that's really fun.
Oh, that's fun.
You don't have to have a sewing board. You can just use, a lot of times I'll use like an embroidery hoop with just a scrap piece of fabric in it. But I just like to use this just to let the kids like start with just free form sewing. So I don't tell them what to do. I'll just tell them, go up and down, just so they're starting to know, you go in through the back and you go down through here. Right. And just to get the basic motion of it. And they'll start, once they start getting the hang of it, all of my kids have they'll start like going around the edges. They'll start making shapes. They might make a triangle or a circle. And then when they get to doing it on fabric, they'll start making their own shapes. This was my daughter's, I think, when she was 4.
Oh,
she did this one. She's 8.5 now. So she has come a long way in hers.
Yeah. So where do you buy the board from?
So this board is from a great small company. It's Treasures from Jennifer on Etsy. Okay. And we have given my kids one of those for their Easter baskets or stockings every year. And it is really a useful tool, but you definitely don't have to have it. Okay. You can also, for beginner sewers, another way that I like to start is using burlap. So burlap is another great fabric to put on an embroidery hoop. Embroidery hoops are super versatile, and you can use them over and over again, which is nice. But putting burlap on there, burlap is kind of the same concept as like the sewing board, because it's really loose weave. I don't know if you can see it, but there's like holes in there. Yeah. So it makes it really easy for the kids to pass the needle back and forth, which is good. So this is one that my 3-year-old did a couple of weeks ago, actually. So she sewed little buttons on, which is fun. And this can be kind of just an invitation. So once they understand the concept of the in and out, you can show them how to do a button, which is basically, for her, I just let her loop it around, and then I just put the buttons, I pre-thread needles pretty much for all of my kids still. My 8-year-old can't thread a needle, but it's frustrating. Yeah. And I like to make sure that for kids, especially our little ones, that we try to make the craft project as enjoyable as possible. Like they're learning a lot. They're stretching their brain power. They're stretching their fine motor skills. So taking out like a little bit of the prep work by pre-threading needles for them is a really handy thing to do.
Yeah. And there's a lot to that. There's that cognitive piece that you were talking about, that problem solving, the motor planning, the fine motor control. Like all of that is built into that one activity.
Yes,
so
definitely.
That's a great thing to do. So for a 3-year-old, are you just putting that, as you have like a structured time that you do sewing together, or is it like something they can go get and do it on their own and put it back, or how?
Yeah, so I think in the beginning, definitely making sure that these are projects that you're doing with your children. Something like the lacing cards, if you model it once for them, they're probably going to pick that up. But when we get to something like the buttons, it's definitely more of an activity that would be a parent-child activity where you're not just going to let your child, especially if you're using a real needle. The plastic needles are fine, but even metal, they make metal ones that are tapestry needles. It has a blunter tip. They're not super sharp, and they're great for kids for this kind of activity here. But if you have a child who, isn't calm and sitting there focused on it, it could be dangerous. So you definitely want to make it like a quiet activity. So in our house, we have a flow to our day, and it's during those like quiet moments. So it's not when we're like playing or doing like dance party time.
Right.
Definitely more of a put on classical music, light a candle. We're going to sit down and focus on this for a few minutes.
Oh, little sewing time. That sounds so sweet. So if we go back to like the beginning. So I know for those of you, I have people that have 2-year-old classrooms on here. And they do have, Melissa and Doug has those big sewing ones. Have you seen them? They're like the Animal Farm, and they're so cute, and they're wood, and they're big.
Those too.
And the holes are really big. You can start there and then move into the smaller beads. And then can you show us that one with the colorful stuff on it? Yeah, that's so cute. So then like move into something like that. And then lacing cards, and then move into more of the tapestry type stuff. So there's like a whole process here.
Yeah, it really is. And it's kind of a natural progression where once they're building up one skill, then they're ready for the next skill. Yeah. And at the beginning, it's really just learning the steps that they're working on. But by the time they get to the point of doing something like this, it's nice because you can have like a product, an end product to it. And it's something that's actually useful and beautiful. And, maybe you give things as gifts, or you keep them for yourself and you make seasonal decorations. That's something we do a lot in our home is have the kids work on, decorations for Christmas or for spring or anything like that.
I'm thinking out because I'm a preschool person. So I'm thinking as a preschool teacher, you can even have like a small group of kids doing this outside, like near the garden. Like you can bring it anywhere, which is really neat. And you can do it like what you were saying. So if you're doing like Mother's Day presents or Easter or Christmas presents as a class, you can kind of rotate the kids in. And then using the burlap, I would think would be the easiest for a preschool class.
Yes, definitely. I think, and these kinds of like things that they could make would make great gifts to send home, for mom or dad, or on grandparents' day or something like that. These would be just beautiful things that, as parents, we love anything our kids make, but when it's really beautiful, it's even better.
Yeah. Even having maybe like a mommy guest day where you bring the moms in and have the moms and the kids sew together. That would be
that is so fun. It's Mother's Day because it's coming up. So I had this is just one little Mother's Day craft that we made.
Oh,
again, all of my kids, 3, 5, and 8 could help with. And these are just super simple little flowers. And so I pre-cut all the flowers for them. And then my 3-year-old was really good at sewing the buttons. So she took the turn of sewing the buttons. And then my 5-year-old was really good at sewing around the circle. So he took that task and did that one. And then my 8-year-old assembled them and put them all together. And
I love it.
Yeah, so once they learn those basic skills, it's so fun because it just opens up these opportunities to make all sorts of different things. And these were made out of felt, which is another one of my favorite materials. So once the kids are really good at passing the needle back and forth, felt is nice because it is still easy to pass it through, and it's really sturdy. Like it's not going to fray, or it's not floppy like maybe just regular fabric is. Yeah. So it's nice for kids to do. So my kids do a ton of things in felt. We probably use felt like every day around here.
Yeah, I love it. So if anybody's on, we'll open it up to questions. If anybody has any, type them in the comments. There's like a kick's going up and down between 3 and 18 people, like on and off. So if you guys have questions, but I want to know a little bit more about your website and what you do. Do you share more activities like this on there? Do you have any products you sell?
Yeah, so I on my blog, I do have lots of activities or just inspiration for kind of shaping your day, like I was talking about, kind of having a rhythm to our day. And then I do have a resource where I have 12 months of activities. And so it doesn't just include the craft projects, but includes stuff to go along with it, because we really like to make it a special time in our house. So my kids really look forward to it. So we have special songs we sing. We have poetry, books that go along with it. And so it's all very seasonal and nature based. And we'll include all the patterns and everything. So here's just one. I was going to show another, and this one I have in the freebie that I'm going to send. Anybody wants that one too. But so we have these little birdies that are another really easy project. I would say probably 4 and up could do this one. This one teaches 2 different stitches. So once they master the basic sewing, you can get adventurous with different stitches, and it's really fun. This one uses a blanket stitch all across it, and then just a running stitch around the wing, and then we put little stuffing on it. And I had one here. I don't know where my finished birdie went, but it'll be a cute little plushy toy that you could either, my kids just like to carry them around, or we put them in a nest to make a little decoration. You can make a mobile with it.
And I like that because my page is all about little to no prep. Like, we do not like prepping and spending an hour prepping on my page. Right. So that is like something super easy. It's like 5 minutes, and then your kids can carry it around forever. It's like they made their own little stuffy and they can snuggle with it.
Yes, I think that is key because, parents, teachers, we're all just too busy to be spending all this time to be prepping something, especially when sometimes our kids, they don't go along with our plan. Like, they might not enjoy the activity. They might not be ready for it. It's hard to know. So I think it's important to do minimal prep so that, you can always put it aside and save for another time.
Yeah. It's a process. Kids learn a lot through the process versus the product. So this is very process based.
Yes, absolutely. And of course, like with the little birdies, like a 3-year-old's birdie is not going to look like a 6-year-old's birdie. Right. And, it's just about enjoying it. And once they put in the effort to do that, and I would say one birdie probably would take, about 20 minutes probably for a kiddo to do it if you were sitting there with them. And once they finish it, like, that's a lot of work for a child to focus on. But you can help, sometimes with my younger ones, I might say, okay, you do 3 stitches and then I'll do 3 stitches. We'll take turns to do it. And then when they're finished, they are so proud. Like, the smile on their face, they're just so proud of themselves. You really just can't beat the look when they finish a project on their own. Right.
That's cute. So this membership that you're talking about is how old? So it sounds like preschool families could be part of that?
Yes, definitely. So I say it's for children up to about 8. Some of the families that use it do have larger families. So even kids who are like 10 and 12 enjoy it, but it's definitely geared like in the 3 to 8 range. And all of the projects are simple, using things that you probably have around your house. I give guidelines on some things to build, like a craft cabinet that has like the basics in it, but we're using basic things like felt, embroidery, thread, just really basic things so that, like you said, like they're no prep, like you don't have to go out and buy a ton of stuff for them. And they're projects that you learn a real skill that you'll be able to use for other things. So
yeah, we talked about that earlier, how important it is to know life skills today. Definitely today's world, we need to know all these things from cooking to cutting hair and sewing.
Yes. So I appreciate we don't just have just sewing projects, but I have other things like we're from San Antonio. So Cascarones are a super fun spring activity here. So taking the eggs and filling them with confetti. We also have some sensory play. This is a little small world garden with just a recipe for like dirt Play-Doh.
Do you send those to them or do they download those?
They download them, and probably next week I'll be offering print versions of it. I haven't in a while, but I'm going to offer a print version soon again because all of my family love the print ones because there's so much color, and it's just nice to look at it for inspiration.
Yeah. Well, thank you for coming on. I don't see any questions, but I'm sure there will be when people start watching it. So you can come back and answer questions, and I'll put your link. And I know you said you're going to send us the link to the freebies, so I will also put that in there for everybody.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, nice having you on.